The NBA 2K26 Summer League back in Vegas. Today we'll have a quadruple header of opening day games for you. Pelicans, Timberwolves at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific on ESPN2, followed by Thunder and the Nets. Then on ESPN, number one pick Cooper Flagg makes his debut for the Mavs against Bronny James and the Lakers. And the nightcap, Dylan Harper, the number 2 pick in the draft, leading the Spurs against the Sixers, and VJ Edgecombe, the number 3 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Speaking of Summer League, time for a quick take. Number 1 overall pick Cooper Flagg facing off against Bronny, as I said moments ago, in today's game out in Las Vegas. This matchup between Flagg and James is set to be the highest price in competition since we saw Wemby's debut last year out at Summer League. Windy, what you watching for tonight?
Yeah, well, this is obviously a made-for-television matchup. They want everybody to get a good chance to look at Cooper Flagg on national television against Bronny James, who's one of the highest-profile sophomores. I will just say that last year, really Cooper Flagg's explosion in front of the NBA scouts happened when he was with Team USA. And he came and played against the national team, and he was at times one of the best players on the court. But the reason I bring that up is because his first day of the scrimmage, he wasn't very good. In fact, Steve Kerr and Grant Hill had to pull him aside and say, hey, just relax. The second day, he left everyone's jaws on the floor. So what I'm trying to say is, let's not overreact to what we see from an 18-year-old in his first setting in this situation. Obviously, this is what he wants. He wants to be in the spotlight. He has always embraced this. He embraced it when he was in high school. He embraced it at Duke. I think he's going to embrace it in the NBA. But let's not overanalyze what happens in his first preseason, in his first exhibition game.
Oh, please, don't tell us not to overreact. We're going to do it the same way we did it for Zion, the same way we did it for Wemby when both of them debuted out in Vegas a couple of years ago. All right, moving on. New York, stand up. The Knicks finally have their man as 2-time Coach of the Year. Mike Brown was introduced at Madison Square Garden earlier this week. Brown stepping in to lead a Knicks team that was eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals with a clear hunger for more. Expectations here should have fans happy.
Our goal, starting with Mr. Dolan, to Leon, to the players, all the way down to the fans, is to build a sustainable winning culture that produces championships. That's why I'm here. I'm fortunate to know what it takes to create that success. A lot of hard work, a high level of commitment, and a focus on today.
All right, the Knicks are the co-favorites to win the Eastern Conference at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Right now, those odds 8-1. It would be the first time the Knicks are favored or co-favored to win the East, entering a season since the 2000-2001 season. Bing bong. Did I do that right? Is that how you do it, guys? Anybody? Russ, is that how I do it? Got it. I've always wanted to do that. All right, David, are the Knicks now your favorites to come out of the East, or is it someone else?
Right now, I'd still the Cleveland Cavaliers for me. This team is still the team that won 60-plus games last year, and you can look at how they fizzled out in the second round, and you can put some reasons behind that. You can say, hey, Darius Garland was hurt, and we also ran into an Indiana Pacers team that was on a heater and on an incredible run, and they stole a game, and that series was basically over after that. I think this Cavs team is still a little bit deeper. I think Donovan Mitchell has a lot to prove going to next year. Mobley has been taking steps every single year to get better. I think if you're looking at the East, it's still Cleveland as the best team, but it's them and New York and then everybody else below them.
All right, Wendy, I hear sustainable winning culture is Mike Brown's top goal for this team. I mean, they won a lot of games last year, and they also got themselves to the Eastern Conference Finals. Does that make them your favorite in the East?
No, I think it's the Cavs, but it's close. I mean, the Cavs won 64 games last year. They're bringing back their 6 top players, and they've gone out and traded for Lonzo Ball, who they believe will help them more in a postseason setting than Ty Jerome. Maybe that'll be true, maybe it won't, but they certainly are coming into this season very formidable. You know, the Knicks struggled throughout last season during the regular season against the top teams. Now, none of that matters when you get through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs as they did. And I just want to emphasize again, they were going to beat Boston, even if Jason Tatum hadn't had that very unfortunate injury. They were going to win that series. But the Knicks still have some things to prove with their roster. And they did address that. They addressed their depth. And Mike Brown is a very secure coach. He's coached for almost 40 years in the league. He has a very secure feeling about what he wants to implement. And I do think that'll match up well with their veterans. But Cleveland, from a talent standpoint, is right there. And I actually think that Evan Mobley is one of the more interesting players in the entire East to watch this year. He was a second-team All-NBA player this year. He was a Defensive Player of the Year. And because Darius Garland is going to potentially miss the early stages of the season coming back from toe surgery, I think they're going to put the ball in his hands more and make him more of a playmaker. So Evan Mobley's development is very important to the Cavs, and that potential upward mobility has them, in my view, a little bit ahead of the Knicks right now.
Because they could. I mean, you mentioned the Cavs, some backcourt depth there with Lonzo Ball and with Jordan Clarkson providing some depth for the New York Knicks. I mean, I give the Cavs their respect. They're not going to fall off a cliff in the playoffs the way that they did last year. Injuries probably aren't going to factor in the same way that they did to their stars. But the Knicks are built for this, guys. Take a look at everything that they did this offseason. There's a complete shift from defense into offense. Those Mike Brown teams in Sacramento, yes, by and large, they underachieved. But I'm thinking about the 2-man game between Cat, between Jalen Brunson, and what having a coach like Mike Brown, the ball movement, the offensive efficiency, this is what they needed. And on top of that, a roster that remains mostly intact from last season's Eastern Conference Finals into this season. Before free agency, they opened as the favorites to win the East. Now, 8-1 odds. They are the co-favorites, the shortest odds, with the Cavs and Nuggets right behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, also earlier this week, the Lakers introduced their biggest offseason acquisition, DeAndre Ayton, speaking to the media as a member of the team for the first time. The former #1 overall pick hopes to fill a major need for the purple and gold at the center position. Ayton had high praise on what it will be like to play with Luka.
It feels like a video game. Like somebody set it up. I think somebody set this up. But like honestly, it's an opportunity that I won't take for granted. You know, Luka's a once in a generation player, and I'm happy to be his teammate. Hearing how much shape he's been in, he's super ripped, and I'm finally glad to be on his side.
He's not wrong. If you have a super ripped Luka and DeAndre Ayton, it will feel like a video game out there. Now, whether that's a video game that gets you past the second round of the playoffs, we'll see. David, do you think the Lakers are going to be the most fun team, like a video game, to watch next year, or do you have a different one in the West?
So the Lakers are definitely going to be exciting. There's going to be drama. JJ Redick always being the guy that he is on the sidelines, watching to see what Luka does, Luka and LeBron, and the drama that is with the Lakers will always be compelling television. But in terms of the team that I cannot wait to see take the floor for the actual basketball excitement, it's right here in the A. It's the Atlanta Hawks. I cannot wait to see what they do. They, to me, seem like Pacers light in the way that they're playing, picking up Nickeil Alexander, and then the way that Trae Young is navigating that offense. I love Jalen Johnson. I love watching the great barrier thief in this defense and the way that he plays. I think this is going to be a fast-paced team. I think this team is going to play incredible defense, and I think that we're going to see one of Trae Young's best seasons. When he is at his best, he is as entertaining to watch as anybody in the league. I don't know how many nationally televised games they're going to get. They're going to be a League Pass must-watch team this season.
All right, so David's sticking in the East. Windy, who do you have?
Pretty much the entire West, but let's start with a few teams. I think the Rockets are going to be a really interesting team to watch. First off, if you haven't seen them very much, the way they play with Alperen Şengün, who's a very talented offensive center, he's almost like a mini Jokic, the way he can distribute the ball and shoot it from mid-range. And he's going to be now working with Kevin Durant, who is, you know, at times last year their offense was hard to watch. Now it's going to flow a lot better when you have Durant. Plus, Amen Thompson is one of the more fascinating young players in the league. The way he plays at both ends is just really infectious. And I want to point out another team in Texas, the Spurs. Victor Wembanyama is expected to be back. They're going to have this host of young guards, Stephon Castle, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Dylan Harper, who we're going to hopefully get a look at. He's dealing with a bit of an injury right now. It may not be immediately tonight, but we're going to get a look at here in the Summer League. That's going to be interesting, especially with the things that they can do on their rest of their roster. So the Spurs are a team that you're going to see on the national television slate a lot more, I believe, starting this season.
Am I crazy for my answer being the reigning champs, guys? Like a team that had the 1 seed locked up by mid-March, who has the reigning MVP. They just won a finals in 7 games. Is that not the right answer here for the team that's the most exciting to watch? David?
You think they're exciting to watch?
I mean,
they're sort of a machine.
Sure.
I don't know about exciting.
They're probably, all right, fine.
The defending champs, yes, are exciting to watch. Yes, they are exciting. The only
They win a
problem
lot
with
of
OKC
games.
Thunder is they broke the record for they win a lot, but they also had the record for the biggest point differential. We're going to see a bunch of 20-point blowouts next season. I think they may be one of the reasons that you may be turning those games off by the beginning of the fourth quarter. No, nothing against that team, just some of those games might not be competitive.
Yeah, well, to Wendy's point, the amount of shuffling of the deck in the Western Conference, Houston with Kevin Durant getting traded there, Denver's reloaded as well, the top-heavy race that we've got between the top 3 teams and even beyond that. What happens with the Minnesota Timberwolves? What happens with the Lakers, the Warriors? No, we can't forget the Clippers in there as well. Certainly exciting. I know we're getting ready for football season, but now you guys have me chomping at the bit, getting ready for NBA season and wishing that back far too soon. All right.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear, I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA, I'm a